Final Christmas, the Santa. What is the final Christmas and who is the Santa? Peace on earth and goodwill toward humanity, gifts and treats, presents under the tree. Winter holidays are a staple in most cultures, and none is more famous than Kris Kringle himself, going around the world and dropping off presents to well-behaved children. A point to gather together on the longest, coldest, darkest nights, and through harmony and familial relationships. A reflection on the year that passed and looking forward to the year to come. Basically a familiar celebration to recharge one's spiritual, mental and emotional batteries. So it's particularly upsetting to this agent that they have to write up an incident report related to Christmas about a being that named themselves as the Santa and the damage it did that had to be contained. Now, through research and analysis, this creature isn't actually the Santa of modern depiction of the man with rosy cheeks and big shaky belly, nor of the Dutch origin of a saint that gave small wooden toys to the good girls and boys of the towns around him. This wasn't a creature that has always been around. This isn't even about Krampus, the goat-legged spirit who kidnaps bad children, sticking them in a sack full of coal and beating the bag heavily with a stick. No, this Santa was formerly a human, one Kris Kringleston, who thought his own mental hang-ups and bad luck was able to trigger a transformation into an anomalous creature of some strength. Using the agency Seers, we were able to piece together what happened, and combined with the things found in his apartment and reading his emails, it's not a pretty story of what went down. Kringleston's name was probably just a coincidence or something his parents were unthinking about when they named him. Or maybe they wanted to be in them, because Kris was born on December 25th. And like most children who were born on that day, his birthday took a backseat to the Christmas holiday. It's hard to have a birthday party when everyone is home opening presents and people always expect him to live up to the archetype of Santa, to be cheerful and merry, to, yes, love candy and treats. It was enough to make the kid annoyed as a kid, angry as a teenager and bitter as an adult. It didn't help that life wasn't the kindest to Kringleston. He wasn't a particularly even-tempered person. And all the treats people almost force-fed him from young distinctly increased his weight, making him look more like Santa, especially with his super light blonde and almost silver hair, giving the matching look with his large weight. The Santa jokes followed him for most of his life. And even though he went to college and graduated top of his class in law school, his appearance meant it was hard to take him seriously, leaving him stuck as a paralegal who people always expected to work pro bono. Something that would match what the real Santa would do. Again, the stresses of life and such. But Kringleston did have an outlet. Probably it started as a way to rebel against the image forced upon him by name and appearance. But Kris was greatly interested in the occult, and not the gentle supernatural stuff of the nature you'd find in Christmas movies or children's films, but the deep, dark world of occult, the one of blood drawing, sacrificing small animals and paying worship of demonic-looking entities. Kringleston was not a nice boy, and the dark things he looked into, researched and acquired, it was a way to counteract the image that had been forced on him as a child. One of the ways he liked to vent was to acquire new items for his collection, books, paintings and even artifacts of the occult, including his latest purchase, a present to himself from the shady internet dealer he usually deals with for all his black magic goods. The person claimed he had on him the blood of the Greater One, of a being whose hands can touch the sky and bring down the sky. Kris didn't know what that meant, but considering the owner of his paralegal company just ordered him to dress up like Santa for the holiday party, he decided to treat himself and purchase the blood, and promptly forgot about it as the costume for Santa was just delivered to his door. He was going to hate the following weeks. Worst is that his boss had told the office that he was going to be the party's Santa. So now Kringleston had to deal with all of his co-workers getting drunk, spilling drinks on him and trying to crawl onto his lap to make a nice list. And he was bitter enough to ignore the women asking if they were on his naughty list. After his last girlfriend turned out to be a Santa chaser, he's pretty much given up on romance for the time being. So the day of the holiday party arrived, and with it so did his package, the item he bought that the drama of the holidays made him forget about, the blood of the Greater One. A little excited and ignoring how rosy made his cheeks, he opened up the package and saw a glass tube topped with a cork and sealed with wax. It was his order, and it didn't look like ordinary blood. For one, it was way too black to be blood, and two, it was cold to the touch, as in very cold to the touch. It was interesting, and he was looking forward to investigating it more. But then he saw the time and saw he was going to be late to the torture event. Luckily, he already had the costume on, so he could just head out. Absent-mindedly, he put the container he just got in the suit pocket and left for the event, hoping that the party wasn't going to be as bad as he feared. It was. A bunch of obviously lawyers and paralegals getting drunk, trying to suck up to the partners and making asses out of them and himself. It was one of the few times of the year when everyone was encouraged to let loose and go wild. And what Kringleston really hated was all the stupid Santa jokes and puns that were constantly tossed his way. Each person thinking they were thinking of something new and witty, when it was things Chris had heard 1,000 times growing up. The alcohol was flowing through the party and people were really indulging themselves, including one super drunk lawyer. They suddenly decided that they wanted to sit on Santa's lap for a good joke. So without warning, they hopped onto Chris's lap, and he heard that dreadful crunch as the person landed in his lap at a weird angle and exposed Kringleton to the contents of the glass tube. He felt his lap get sticky, and he made excuses to go to the bathroom, trying not to cuss out the drunk lawyer for breaking his newest acquisition. As he walked towards the bathroom, he reached into his pocket and felt wetness, hissing as he scratched his finger on a few of the glass shards. Chris Kringleston was lucky that he didn't die from the mutagen that he got his hands on. A cocktail of blood from creatures and things that really shouldn't see the light of day. That his supplier actually got his hands on something real and dangerous. Most people would have died a screaming pile of tumors, but not Chris, as he muttered under his breath to the break room to attempt to salvage some of his prize and clean out his suit pocket. He was just sick and tired of the whole holiday, and in his angry internal ranting, he didn't notice that he himself was rapidly mutating and changing, his skin discoloration and limbs elongating and withering. Enough that his Santa pants fell off his waist. Kringleston stumbled as he felt very, very odd as his silver blonde hair turned ash grey and the skin of his face pulled back, stretching over his elongated skull and making his teeth really prominent. Looking in the mirror, he saw his baby blue eyes turn bloody red, with the rest of his eye turning black, and before he could start to worry, he began to vomit a lot. It was endless as the sink was rapidly filled with blood, vomit, pus, and many things that started to wriggle and grow. Things didn't matter though, because for some odd reason, even after puking like that, Chris Kringleston felt amazing, in a way he has never experienced his whole life. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to understand what the whole holiday cheer was all about, the nonsense he was always shrugging off. Maybe he was starting to understand the real purpose. And with that purpose, he wanted to share his newfound mentality with all the others at the office. Chris didn't notice himself floating as he gathered all the wriggling worms. They were now the size of a medium-sized dog and were growing still, even rows of saw-like teeth appearing at their ends. He just scooped them up with a handy-dandy sack he had been carrying with him all night, emptying it of the useless presents his boss had forced him to carry and pass out to everyone. No, now he had something much better to give to everyone. The best present that keeps on giving. Chris kicked open the door, leaving behind red pants and a sink filled with blood and vitae. And then he got to the party. He was so happy that the partiers got excited to see him. Why? They even started pointing and screaming in joy now that Santa arrived. What else could he do but open the sack and give them exactly what they deserve? Chris Kringleston opened his sack, and the screams got louder. It just made him smile. It was going to be just the best Christmas, with him and all his new best friends. Now, where else should he go to spread this Yuletide joy? The night is young after all.